that this bill be agreed to in principle. Ms Lauder.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I rise today to address the Government's Retirement Villages Legislation Amendment Bill 2018 and to indicate our general support for this bill. The bill implements a second tranche of recommendations which were made as a result of the extensive 2015-16 review of the Retirement Villages Act 2012. With extensive previous ACT reviews, I know that I can see that the debating of this bill has been delayed for some time, partly because of ongoing discussion, debate and concern amongst residents and members of the public about the capital maintenance guidelines. So I'm pleased that there has been quite an extensive consultation process from what I've heard from stakeholders. And from the perspective of stakeholders, that definition of capital maintenance and capital replacement in retirement villages was one of the key points to address and to address satisfactorily. Residents fund capital maintenance through recurrent charges, while capital replacement is the responsibility of the owner. And the bill attempts to define capital maintenance and capital replacement and creates a guidelines-making power which will allow the Minister to make provision about the classification of, including the distinction between capital maintenance and capital replacement. The bill provides that where multiple persons reside in a unit, only one person may vote on matters which require the operator to obtain the consent of residents, for example, annual budgets. This deals with the concern about an inequitable distribution of voting rights between sole occupiers and multiple occupants. However, individual retirement villages may vote by special resolution to move to a voting model of one vote per person. There is still an optional conciliation process for residents of retirement villages seeking to resolve disputes with enforceable orders similar to ACAT. Other elements in the bill include contract of sale requirements for the sale of units in retirement villages, new consumer protection, timeframes that an operator must give notice to residents of an amendment to recurrent charges, and updated terminology. It streamlines administrative and budget processes for unit-titled retirement villages. I've also had quite a bit of contact and representation from individual residents, representatives of individual units and organisations representing multiple complexes. One of the things I think that could be addressed in future iterations of the bill is about plain English. There's been a difference of opinion from different individuals and groups, some of which has been based on perceived differences of the best strategy to achieve improvements. And there's a perception by some residents that the new provisions of the classification of capital maintenance and capital replacement is still not satisfactory. And they'd prefer to see the definitions in law and would like the bill to be rejected. In the end, I feel it's an issue of an equitable and equitable balance between the interests of owners and residents. The bill does move this difficult area forward. There is some Assembly oversight of the ministerial guidelines on capital and maintenance guidelines, which will be notifiable instruments. And I note that the Retirement Villages Residents Association have been involved in consultation and have indicated to me their general and overall satisfaction with the bill that we're looking at today. And I'd like to commend the Retirement Village Residents Association for their work for quite some time on the stakeholder consultation group for this bill, especially but not limited to Alistair Christie and Pam Groudens, who I know have put in many, many hours of work. In future iterations, I'd also consider that the different treatment of tenants to residents may need to be addressed, as indicated to me by some stakeholders. So we have a position of support, perhaps cautious support. We'd like to acknowledge that for some individuals there is remaining dissatisfaction, and of course, as with any bill passed in this area, in this Assembly, we'll maintain a keen interest in the effectiveness of the new provisions. It is likely that the Act may undergo further revision as the impact of the current changes are felt. I'd also like to thank the Minister's Office and the Directorate for their briefing on this area. All of the organisations and people who provided feedback to the Directorate and also to me on the consultation process on this bill, and thank you to Neil in my office for the work that he's put in it. So, Madam Speaker, despite some perhaps minor comments in this area, we support the passing of this bill today.